Hello everyone and welcome to the next part of our series. Today we're going to be taking a look at the blockout. And the blockout is a very important part of the 3D process. Not a lot of people do this, and I think it's a mistake not to do it, because by doing a blockout, what we're going to be essentially doing is we're going to be preparing ourselves to plan ahead and understand what we're going to be doing. This is something we do a lot in production, and it's when we just build a very simple environment with as many primitives as possible in a simple, not stylized, like a simplified way. So in our cases, we're going to be doing this little diorama. I want you guys to build this blockout, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to be building mine, so that as we keep adding all of the models, the textures, preparing the renders, we are just going to be building on top of this. From a production perspective, a blockout is very important. It's very similar to a storyboard because it allows you to visualize how things are going to look without seeing the final result. And especially if you're working with clients that are very picky and always want to make changes, if they can see how things are evolving, it makes it a little bit less probable that you're going to be doing a lot of rework. And rework in our industry is one of the worst things that happen. So the first thing I'm going to go here to display. I'm going to go to the grid, and you're going to see that my grid right now is set to 100, 10, and 1. This is the size that I have created for my grid. And the reason why I picked the size is because this allows me to understand that a 100 unit cube is going to be a 1 meter cube. So right now you can see that I'm creating a small cube right there, and it looks very, very small compared to the grid. If we go to the options right here and we change the scale to 100, this right here is a 1 meter square cube, which is exactly what we want. So we could eventually or potentially build a scene in real world scale where everything is just like exactly like it would be in the real world. But in our case, I just want to work a little bit bigger. Now, another very important reason why I work a little bit bigger here in the grid is because this will allow us to have a little bit more control over the tools. When we're working in very small increments, then the decimal points of things like bevel and extrude and all of these things, it becomes a little bit difficult to work with. So let's make this thing a little bit bigger. I'm going to make this thing 300 units wide. So it's 3 square meters. And this is going to be the volume that's going to be occupying, or that my diorama is going to be occupying. I'm going to press W, and I'm going to bring this thing up right around there. And then I'm going to change the name here to volume diorama. And one of the things that I want to do is I would like to keep this box as a sort of like invisible shape inside of Maya, so that we don't interact with it, but we can always see it so that we're not going outside of the square. So in this particular case, I'm going to grab this guy right here, and I'm going to go to the display layers. Display layers are an amazing way in which we can utilize to organize our stuff here without having to create like groups or anything over here. So by selecting this box and by going here to the display layers, I'm going to click on this little last icon that says create a new layer and assign selected objects. And what that will do is, as you can see, we'll create a new layer, which we can rename. I'm going to call this volume layer, hit enter and save. And now this layer has a couple of options. First, we have this visibility option right here, and on this little last box right here, we can turn 2 different options on. We can go to the T, which is template, which we will not be able to interact, and we will see the object as a wireframe object, or we can change it to R, which is reference, which again, we will not be able to interact, but we will be seeing it shaded. In our case, we want to place this in the T mode so that we have this section right here. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Now I'm going to start building again my blockout. I'm just going to use very basic primitives. Actually, let's jump to our shelf right here. I'm going to start with a cube, and the first thing I want to do is I want to do the volume that's going to represent the sea and the sand of my diorama, which I would like it to be around 1/3 of the whole thing. So as you can see, I'm making this a lot bigger right around there. And then we can scale it right here. Let's freeze the transformations real quick. We don't need to keep the transformations, probably a little bit less, or actually a little bit more. I want to have a little bit more water. So it's like a fourth, maybe. It's more like a third, right? So this is going to be my water. And one of the things that I want to do to this water already is I'm just going to give it a bevel, like a big bevel, 2 segments, and a small fractions, just to give me a nice visualization of the corners, and that I know that this is going to be a round effect. Later on, we're going to replace this with another one. Now, let's build our little pirate den. And you guys have on your data folder all of the references that we're going to be using for this. I know that I want to have a main sort of floor, which is where my main little house is going to be. And I want this house to occupy, well, a good space in our scene. So I would say roughly around there. Now, I also know that this little house is going to have, oh, actually, sorry, I'm just moving along with tools. So we know this little house is going to have like a little ramp over here, and then we're going to have the stairs going down. Now, if I want to add more divisions here, remember, we could have added them at the very beginning here, but I don't want to do it. So I'm going to use my cut tool right here, which is this little knife right here. It's one of the tools that we added. And I'm just going to press Control to insert an edge loop in any point in which I want. If you press Shift while using this cut tool, you're going to be able to snap it to specific angles if you want to do everything very like mathematically. I'm just going to keep it right around there. And then I'm going to press Q again to go back into normal mode. Let me turn Karnak real quick. Shortcut thing. There we go. So now I'm going to select this guy right here, this face. I'm going to hit Control E to extrude this and give myself a little bit of a ramp. This is where the stairs are going to be leading up to. Then I'm going to grab this one right here. I'm going to hit Control E again. I'm going to bring it down and I'm going to bring it right around there. Probably a little bit higher, so let's do something like this. Perfect. Then I'm going to Control E again, push this forward to about there. I'm going to add another line right here with my cut tool. Again, Control, just click on the cut tool, Control, go right there, and then go back to Q, which is our selection mode. Select this face, Control E, and we're going to create our little dock right there. So that, as you can see, is going to be the main like construction of our pirate's den. Of course, we're going to be adding some curvature over here. We're going to be changing some things, but it's just a block-it. And actually, this is not a good shape. Like this shape that I did right here, where I extruded the stairs, that's not the ideal way to do it. We're going to be modifying all that later on. But this is just supposed to be like a very basic blueprint of where things are going to be. I'm going to create a cube now, and I'm going to bring this cube up. I'm going to use this cube to position it and like give myself a little bit of a room to know where the main like pirate thing is going to be, which I would imagine like the pirate house is going to be around there. I want to have a little bit of space on this side, which is where one door is going to be, another space on this side for more doors. And then I'm going to grab this face, Control E, we can push this up, scale it in X, and then I can even grab this vertex right here, push them forward, and give myself a little bit of this like crazy look that we're going to be again modifying later on. Now, see how the shapes right now are looking a little bit weird? Like Maya is trying to give me this soft effect right here, while we know that these are just two very flat faces. These are the hard surface on the soft edges, or hard edges and soft edges that we've mentioned before, which are these little tools right here. So if you want to see this as a low poly object, if you don't want Maya to try to automatically smooth the shading of an object, you can just click on the object and then click on the hard edge. And as you can see, that's going to give us the very nice hard edge that it actually has right now. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Now here, I'm just gonna recycle a little bit. I'm just gonna make a little window. So I'm just gonna rotate this 90 degrees to the right, and we're gonna have this one like poking out here from the side, probably on top of where the main door is gonna be. And eventually we're gonna have like a proper door and everything. Now, what else can we add? Well, I know that I want to have like a little island on this corner right here. So I'm just going to use a sphere. And I'm going to position this sphere right here where the little island would be. It would be right around there. And one of the things that I would like to do is I would just like to see how this would look once the corner is like cut. So I'm going to go to the top view. I'm going to navigate here to my sphere. I'm going to grab all of the vertex that are here on the side, including this guys right here. Remember, you can add to the selection by pressing Control and Shift. It's going to add to the selection. I'm just going to scale them R on the Z axis and push them in so they're as flat as possible. And then I'm going to grab all of these guys over here, and I'm going to do the same. Just scale them on X and push them really, really close to this area right here. So this is just a very weird blocking. You can see that we have some very bad topology. The organization of our squares is not like really, really good, but it's going to give us a nice little detail there that we'll eventually going to replace with the proper sand of our element. Now, if you've seen my, my final result, you also know that we have this sort of like stone ridge on the back part here of the diorama. So I'm going to make a little thin rectangle right here. And I'm just going to start building up a very basic representation of what I eventually want to achieve. And the main idea behind this wall right here is to kind of like frame the little house so that when we see it, if we could go to the little view cube right here, we click it, when we see, oh, actually, Let's not select anything and just click on that corner. When we see this view right here, it kind of looks like this sort of like very isometric square shape. So these guys right here are going to be framing the little pirate house that we have right there. Let's rotate this one right here. Push this one down. Duplicate, push it down. And as we keep going, we just create this very nice effect. Of course, let's start scaling them back so that they're not like poking through the other side. And there we go. So as you can see, again, we're building a very, very basic blockout that's going to allow us to understand how the main shape of the pirate like den is going to be. I actually like the fact that the pirate den in this case is going to be like touching the rocks. Kind of makes sense that maybe the pirates found like a cove or something and they build this whole den around it. So it's kind of like their secret hideout, right? So yeah, there we go. Now we also know that we're going to have some little clouds, right? So might as well just grab a couple of sphere right here. And in this case, I'm going to go to the top view and I want the clouds to be following. Let's go top view. There we go. I want them to be following this sort of like straight line. So I'm going to have them at different depths and at different sizes, but they're going to be following this sort of like left and right, top and bottom sort of thing. So let's Control D again to create another one. And let's just play a little bit here with the depth. Now we can bring them out of the cube. I think that it's going to give us a nice little like depth difference, which is always good. So I don't want all of the clouds to be in the same position because eventually we're going to be animating. We want to have like a little animation here on our element. So we maybe want the clouds to be like moving up and down a little bit or something. And it's always a good idea to have them at different depths. So that's it. This is all we need. I do remember that we're going to have a boat. So I'm going to have my cylinder right here. Let's push this one, and again, just create like a little bit of a canoe. If you want, we can even grab like all of these vertices, make them smaller, and just create like a very, very simple boat. It's going to be resting right around here. Not bad, right? And this is going to give us a very nice idea of how our whole composition is going to work. If you want to, of course, we can like correct or fix some of these elements. So let's just very quickly jump to some of these objects, go into its components so that we can push some of these faces up. But this blockout right here, again, is going to be our guide so that we can keep adding and modeling more and more stuff and just adding those stuff to our scene. Now, in order to have this diorama, this whole blocking in a single element, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab every single object and I'm going to press the letter or the the shortcut Control G. Control G will group all of them into a little like group, and I can rename that group and call this diorama blockout. I sometimes call it blocking, blockout. It really doesn't make that much of a difference. It's just the initial stage of our element. And one thing that I'm going to do is I'm also going to create a layer here with our diorama blockout so that at any point I can hide it, not be bothered by it, and work on whatever I need to work. Now, do you guys remember that we already have one model ready? We already have the chair, and we could already bring the chair diorama blockout layer. There we go. We can bring the chair into this scene and start populating this, which is going to be our master scene. Now, before that, I am going to save the scene. I am going to, of course, set the project. If you haven't set the project, make sure you set the project. Otherwise, you're going to be saving it on a different place. And here in the scenes folder, we're going to save it as a main pirate scene and hit yes. So now, once we have our main pirate scene, every time we add something to the scene or every time we modify something in the scene, I want you guys not to save just with Control S. I want you to get in your memory the Control Alt S. Control Alt S is gonna, Control Alt S is gonna do the increment and save. And what it is gonna do is gonna save a new version of your scene. So instead of having main pirate scene, let's say we just add, I don't know, like a palm tree, right? So I'm gonna add a cylinder right here. And I know that this cylinder is going to be like a palm tree, or maybe like a couple of palm trees are going to be here in the little island. Let's do 3. So I'm going to grab all of these elements and just get them there on the island. And those palm trees now have added a new thing. I'm going to, of course, bring these guys. In order to bring these guys into the group, the best thing you can do is just click and middle mouse drag them into the group. And that's going to parent. It's called a parent. We're going to parent the objects to the group. So now, again, if we turn this off, since the group is what we added to the out layer, even though we added the palm trees, they're going to be hidden as well. If we now do Control Alt S, what's going to happen is it's going to save this as a main pirate scene.001. And the great advantage of this is that if at any point you lose your scene, it gets corrupted, you overwrite something, you delete something that you shouldn't have, and then you save or something, you're just going to lose the last like section of whatever you were working on. However, if you just save on the same scene forever, then if something bad happens to that like master scene, things are just going to break. So let's finally go here to File, Import. Oh my God. File, Import. And we're going to import the chair right there. We're going to say import, and we're going to have our chair_chair geo. We can remove the first part of the name so that we don't have all of that information. We just need to call this chair.geo. And the cool thing about this chair, as you can see, is it fits already very nicely with our little diorama. I'm just going to scale it a little bit. I think a number, probably like a 2 scale. It's gonna be good, maybe a little bit bigger, like a 2.7, and yeah, that's it. We could just have this thing be here near the entrance, or we can have the chair over here. Feel free to position your chair wherever you want. I do feel like my little house is a little bit too close to the rift, so I'm gonna grab everything and just oh, see this happening? What's happening here? What is happening is every single object has a different transformation. That's why freezing transformations is so important, because when you want to move everything, if each specific thing or each individual thing has a different element, then you might not get the exact transformation that you're looking for. I do want to have this house again like pasted against the rocks or the back here of the cove. I feel like that's a good idea. But over here, I feel like this is a good place to have like a couple of chairs and maybe later on a table for some of the pirates to be waiting for their friends who are coming from pillaging islands and stuff like that. You always want to create a story whenever you're doing this sort of stuff. And that's it. With this, we have our BlockOut ready. I'm just going to, again, Control S. In this case, it's just the 001. But anytime we're going to be adding more and more stuff, I want you guys to press Control Alt S so that we can save in increments and always have a backup of our main stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, before I let you guys go and you start working on your BlockOut, I do want to say something. I created this series, this Maya introduction series, as a way for you to not only learn about the software, but also explore your creativity and create something that's going to be your own. And that's the reason why I picked this as a model exercise, the diorama, because even though I want you to do most of the things that we're going to be doing, like the house, the boat, the palm trees, and all that stuff, I want you to do them on your own style. So you don't have to copy the exact same composition. You can do like a 3-story high house. You can do 2 houses. You can do no house and just do like, I don't know, a shack or something. Like, feel free to change and modify things around so that you can create your own little diorama. I would actually prefer if you do that so that you can, again, explore your own creativity and struggle, of course, with the tools a little bit, but then find the solutions that are really going to teach you the tools and the information that you need to become a master at Maya. So yeah, that's it for this one, my friends. I'll see you back on the next video.